Hey guys, it's Jen. Thanks so much for coming back to my channel. Today I thought I would come on with a tutorial on how to make a shaker card with tulle. The last time I made one was last month, and I made it for Scrap Diva Designs, and I had a couple requests to show how to make it. So I will do that today. Thank you guys for requesting. It's very simple to do. I use a sewing machine to attach my tulle to the card. I suggest doing that if you don't have a sewing machine or don't want to sew. You could always glue the edges onto your card. In that case, I would probably do something to cover up that glue line, maybe add some ribbon or something like that to cover it up on the edges. But I'll show you how to do the sewing, and we'll create one that looks similar to this. So what you're going to need are a few things. You're going to need some tulle, and this is just a regular roll of tulle that I probably got from, I don't know, Hobby Lobby. I don't have any markings on it, but this tulle is, it's probably like 6 inches wide. Yeah, it's about 6 inches wide, so that'll be perfect for a card. You can use, you know, whatever width you have. You're just going to make sure it covers the front of your card. For the one that I made here, I used a pre-started card from Hobby Lobby, so we're going to do that for the one that we make together too. And we're going to use this one. These are double-sided flat cards and envelopes from the Paper Studio. They're in stock now at Hobby Lobby. These are 5x7, but I do cut them down. I'll show you that. So this is the card that I'm using, and as you can see, I did cut it down. I cut it down 1/4 of an inch on each side, just because it's a little bit too big and there's too much white space, I think, around the bows to just leave like that. Of course, you can use any card you want, you know, any background, any size. This is just what I'm using for this tutorial. So this one will be 1/4 inch off each side, should be 1/2 inch, right? So it's 6.5 by 4.5. All right, and then I cut one from the other side because they're double-sided for the inside of the card. Because the inside of this card, I use the other side, and that's what we're doing for these. See, they're double-sided. So we have one for the front of the card and one for the inside of the card. You're going to need a card too. So I cut a card that is the same width of this one, and I used some garden party paper from Maggie Holmes. And you're going to make a card that is about 6 3/4 inches by 4 3/4. So 1/2 inch bigger than this card. So it leaves a little margin around it, so you know you could see the background paper. And then I'm also going to use a couple dies from KSCraft. This is, let's see, this is a new die set from this release, from this May release. And this is called the Birthday Flags. I'm not using the flag part, I'm just using this sentiment that says yay. It also comes with party, celebrate, birthday, and surprise. So we're using yay today, because I like to put a label on the front of my tulle cards just to, you know, have some sort of focus and sentiment on the front. And let's see what else. I'm also using this die, which is just like a rounded stitched rectangle, and that comes from a little bit older KSCraft set. This is the Easter egg gift box, and I just wanted one that the word yay would fit into, so that's why I cut that out. So this is the little label that I made for the front of the card, and I used some sequin bits that we're going to use on the inside of the shaker. That'll show you that when we get to it. But I just cut the word yay out of some pink paper, added some white highlights with gel pen, and then added some gingham paper for that little label. And this will go over the top of the card after we add the tulle. All right, so I did make a shaker mix. I'll show you that too. You're going to need a shaker mix. And I just mixed, I wanted to keep mine just kind of tonal pink. So I added a whole bunch of pink, and you want to add some clear, usually sequin bits to your shaker mix, just because it adds some light and just helps it to keep it, to keep being too heavy. And then I like to add a little bit of metallic too. So this one I added rose gold. You'll see in this shaker mix I added some gold. But this one we added some rose gold. And there's different shapes and different sizes, you know, just to keep it lively. I don't know if this is, hopefully it's enough for the shaker mix. Sometimes I just like to add the mix directly as I go to whatever I'm, you know, adding the mix to. That way I know the exact size, but this time I made it ahead of time. All right, so let's get started with the tool. So you have all your supplies ready, you're ready to go. You want to make your tool pocket. So you take your tool, get out some scissors, and you're going to cut a rough cover to your background paper. So you want it to overlap your card, because when you sew it, there's always a chance that the tool is going to move a little bit, like in your sewing machine, and you don't want to have to keep it perfectly straight. So I like to just sew it, you know, with the edges hanging off to begin with, and then cut it down to size afterwards. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take my scissors and cut off a piece. Oops, like that. And then you're going to go ahead and sew it from the top right down to the bottom, across the bottom, and up to the top left. Leave the top open so we can fill it with shakers. And I'm going to bring you over to my sewing machine to show you exactly how I stitch it. Okay, so here we are at my sewing machine. I have the card and the tool loaded under my needle. I set my margins between 1/8 and a 1/4 of an inch. And then I have my stitch length set up. Let me just tilt this up so you could see. It's at 0 right now, but I'm going to move it to about 2.5. I have my speed on slow because we're stitching paper, we're stitching tulle, we're using iridescent thread. All those things make it a little bit tougher to sew than just like regular fabric. So I like to do mine slowly, and so that way you keep your seam nice and even. And yeah, so that's it. So you're going to start, you know, close to the top of your card, but leave a little space, leave enough for that seam, just like you're leaving it, you know, between 1/8 and a 1/4 of an inch on this side. You're going to leave that much at the top too. All right, so I like to start by doing a couple of stitches forward and then a couple stitches in reverse, just to reinforce that corner. We're going to do that all the way at the bottom. We're going to do 2 forward, 2 reversed, go around and around. Okay, so let's get started here. Just moving my pedal, and yeah, let's give it a go. Ready, go. 2 back. Okay, and you want to kind of hold your tool in place as you're going. You know, just keep your hand over it so it keeps it kind of flat. More. Okay, so here we are at the bottom, and then we'll do 2 reverse and then 2 forward. Okay, lift up the foot, turn 90 degrees, put the foot down. Your needle is still in your paper and tool. So we're going to do the 2 forward and 2 back again. 1, 2, 1, 2 back. Okay. And then let's just go forward again, all the way to the corner. Well, not all the way. Don't forget to leave your margin. One more. Okay, and then 2 back and 2 forward. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, turn again. And then this time we're going to go to the top. 2 forward, 2 back, and then all the way. And then we're done. So raise up your needle, take out your thread, and then that's what it looks like. So let's go back to my desk and we'll trim this up. Okay, so here we are back at my desk, and get out your scissors. I'm using my fabric scissors since we're using tulle. You can use whatever scissors you want, doesn't matter, but my fabric scissors are nice and sharp, so just going to use that, and just follow along the edge of your card to trim the tulle, right along with the edge, like that. And then do that with just the sides that you cut, because we'll do the other one after we sew that shut. This just makes it nice and even, just like that. And you could trim off your threads too while you're here, if you didn't do that already. So then we have the front of our shaker. So if you're experienced in sewing, or you know you've been sewing for paper crafts, it's just, you know, you're just sewing a pocket, so easy enough to do. And you could see how the corners are reinforced because we reversed our stitches in the corner, and it's important to do, especially with the shaker like this, because you know if someone's shaking it, you don't want any weak spots. All right, so then you just take your shaker mix and pour it into the top of your pocket. So I'm going to start with some of it and see if we need more. Oh, does that look so pretty? I love the bits of metallic in there. Yeah, let's add the rest. Why not, right? You don't want it to be too full because then it'll dome this up too much. You still want the tulle to lie pretty flat. So you could just kind of like, you know, shake your sequin mix. Oh, look at that one. That one's staying straight up. Along the whole area of the card, and make sure that's enough. And I think that's a perfect amount. When you're making a sequin mix for tulle, it's a little bit different than making it for acetate. You don't want to use, in my opinion, you don't want to use things that will get stuck in the tulle, like diamond dots. I don't know if I would use those. I guess you could, but I think they're just a little bit too small, and they might get stuck in the little holes. Anything too small you don't want. You don't want glitter. Because tulle obviously has holes in it. So I like to use nice flat sequins, nothing too, you know, rounded or anything like that, because then that will make your tulle bulge out too much. And you do want it to be relatively flat. All right, so now what I'm going to do is go back to my sewing machine and stitch this seam shut. And I won't film that, but I'll show you what it looks like as soon as I'm done. Okay, so I stitched the top and trim the tulle off the top as well. So it's pretty flat, as you can see, once you have all those sequins spread out. If you want to cover up the little, like, you know, places at the corners that don't look so hot, especially at the top where I had to sew it shut, what I did on this one was I just glued on some sequins from the sequin mix, and I forgot to save some, so I'll have to go back and get some. But let's go ahead and finish constructing this card while we're here. Let's add the inside part in first. Okay, so just take your glue and glue that in. Oh, there's a sequin. And I'm using my Beacon 3-in-1 glue. Use whatever glue you like, which I'm running low on this one, and I don't think I have a spare, so I'm gonna have to get another one. I use this glue so much. It's just so good because it doesn't warp, you know, and it leaves you enough time, like enough wiggle room, and it covers a large area too. So, all right, so that's the inside of our card. Just went to do that first because we're going to have to put some things on the front that'll need to dry. So you can either glue this on first or glue this on first. I think we'll glue this part on first. So just take your glue and glue it all around the back. Make sure you get over the seam. Okay, that should be good. And we'll glue that onto the front. And make sure your margin is even all around, relatively. And just press it down into place. And I picked a sentiment that you could use for lots of different occasions. I think it looks great for like a baby girl, right? Could be for a bridal shower, birthday, any sort of like celebration for a girl, I think, or a boy who likes pink. And then you're going to add this too. So to add these, to add your sentiment, you want to make sure that your sequin bits are down at the bottom. Okay, now to add this on, I forgot, I didn't want to glue it. I want to add some foam dots to it because I do want it to pop up a little bit. And if you add glue, that might make the tool glue down to the card. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to add 2 foam dots. And these are double-sided foam dots from Dollar Tree. They're the Jot brand. And they raise up your embellishment a little bit, but not as much as the double-sided tape that comes in a roll. So I just want it to be raised up a tad, like this one. All right, so let's figure out a nice place for it. Probably, maybe not exactly in the middle, just raise it up a little bit. Why? I don't know. I just think it looks good that way. All right, and then just press it down lightly. And that way the shaker bits still flow under it. Ta-da! And then I will go back and add some shaker bits to the corners. So let me do that, and I'll show you the finished product. Okay, so I got out these pink flowers that I had put in the shaker mix, and I just glued one to each corner, and that covers up any mistakes, but it's still nice and secure down there. So you have a card that is a shaker, which if you're familiar with sewing, it makes it go, it really goes so quickly when you're sewing this down. So you don't have to deal with like acetate and all the different layers and everything. And it just makes a really nice covering, I think, for your shakers instead of acetate. It's a nice change. So that is it. Thank you, ladies, for requesting this video. I was happy to make it. If you have any questions, please leave them in a comment, and I would love to hear what you think about this tutorial. I love to do tutorials. They are a little bit more involved than other videos. That's why I probably just don't do them as often. But if you have any requests for them, please let me know. Sometimes I can do them, sometimes I can't, but I really do try to you know, give them to you if you want them. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. I will leave the links down below for the flag die and for the treat box too that I use the that rounded rectangle for. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I'll be back soon with more crafty videos. Until then, I hope you have a great day. Bye.